Andrew J. Thomas here, and apologies for the slight darkness. I've left this video to record until evening. But today I'm going to be talking about locations. And obviously they'll be determined by your own particular story and so on. But the interesting thing about entanglement in terms of locations is the way some are real and some are fictitious. Now you may find that's helpful in your own writing as well. But for me, the reason they sort of fell into those two camps was because places like London, Cambridge, Inverness, Lossiemouth, Edinburgh gets a mention, Glasgow gets a mention. You know, these are all places which are clearly real, and therefore people who've been there can possibly picture them. And I felt it grounded the book as well, because although the story is a little off the wall, so to speak, I felt having those real places gave it a level of sort of a base of solidity. Also places like Lundy Island, which is quite important to the story, is real, of course. But then again, on the other hand, there were the places which I invented. And they are Penmound, which is the village where Nigel and Jenny lives, Crianloch, which is the place in Scotland where the secret airbase is, which, judging from some reviews, I think possibly some people think is real, but it's not. And then there's Wensbridge, where Nigel's grandmother lives, and also Effington, which is where the moles start out in life. So, you know, a smattering of both real and artificial. So why did I go for made up names in some cases? And I guess, were they based on real places? So if we take Penmound, for example, and in fact this next statement is true of all of them, I wanted some of the places to feel real, but not to be so real that anybody who lived there might actually be able to definitely identify with them and feel possibly I might have got some details wrong or whatever. So the big places where candidly the story sort of just flows over, I wasn't concerned about that so much, although, you know, details in places like Inverness and Lossiemouth are totally real. When it comes to the more personal details, such as in the pub in Penmound where Nigel and Jenny meet, I wanted those places to be artificial so that I could craft them as I wanted them. Penmound as a name, if you want to email me with any guesses as to where the name comes from, then I'll answer that for you, but I'm not going to just say straight off. What I would say though is that as a place, in terms of how I described it, it's based loosely on a mixture of a place near Stratford-on-Avon called Ulster, and also a place down in the south called Newbury. So it's kind of a hybrid of those two. In terms of the size is more like Ulster, and references to things like the Market Square is more like Newbury. So Penmound very much was a hybrid. And the same was true of Crianloch as well. Having spent a certain amount of time up in Scotland myself over the years, I'm broadly familiar with the sort of style and feel of some of the villages up there, and therefore, although this one wasn't actually an amalgam of specific places, it was nevertheless a mixture of different places I visited over the years. If you're curious about when I refer in the book to journey times and journey mileages and things of that sort between places, I have made certain assumptions as to where some of these places are, just so that all of that is consistent all the way through. But that doesn't mean that the places I've used for distances are the same places that I've based the locations on for the book. Wensbridge and Effington over near Cambridge, they were both just names that came to me. They're similar to names of places over in that part of the world. And Wensbridge, as those of you who heard me talk on BBC Radio Cambridgeshire last week will know, the name came from a village called Wansford, where I had family. So Wansford, Wensbridge, you know, similar sort of feel to the name and so on. But then again, in the Cambridgeshire area, RAF Whitton, totally real place. And there you have your mixture of the two. As I say, the real places to give people some points of reference, and then the fictitious ones because I wanted to be able to mess with them and craft locations that were mine rather than being limited by the reality of what was in certain locations. Now, whether there's anything from that which you can take on board and use in your own writing is obviously up to you. But I hope you found that little tiny insight into some of the locations of entanglement interesting. And I'll be back to do another one of these soon. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.